In our gospel today, we hear the prayer of Jesus. The first half of this passage is a prayer, and then the second part, he invites his followers to come to him, to receive rest, to be meek and humble as he is. He commends the meek, the humble of heart, the little ones to God in the second part. The first part he prays. Jesus has personal experience of being rejected by many of the rabbis, the elders, the Pharisees, the intellectuals of his time. Not that being intelligent is a problem. It's just that they were filled with pride and expectation of what the Anointed One would look like and be like when he came. We have this foretelling in the book of the prophet Zechariah about the one who is to come. And they must have forgotten, because it says he comes in humility, riding on a donkey. Even today, if you were to come in as a leader, if you were not riding on, say, a magnificent horse, and you came in on a donkey, people would probably laugh at you. It was the same back then. You ever notice how a donkey has a cross on its back? Interesting. They had these expectations. No, see, the son of David, the Anointed One, he's not going to come from a place called Nazareth. That's a backcountry town, backwater town. And who are these little ones that the Lord speaks of? The teachable, the receptive, the humble. Years ago, when I was in the seminary in Oregon, I had a Samoan priest as a formation director. He was a simple man. English was his second language. He suffered greatly in his own formation to the priesthood. He said that in his English classes, he would pound his head on the desk because it was so hard to blast through. But it's amazing, when he would submit his formation reports, he could really go on and on and on about, well, me as the seminarian that he oversaw. You're like, wow, Father, you're not at a loss for words. Simple man, humble man. He'd tell stories about being a pastor in Samoa, and sometimes he'd go out to the villages and he'd go out to the huts to see certain people. And for whatever reason, some were scared of him. And they saw Father coming, and the husband said, "Tell him I'm working out in the fields," and then he hid under the bed. Now, these huts are small. Knock on the door. "Where is Jeremiah?" "Oh, he's out in the field, Father." "Well, tell him he left his feet under the bed." You could see his feet sticking out from under the bed. Humble man. And then I knew, at the same time, a seminarian that studied for the Diocese of Phoenix. He didn't go into priesthood, and maybe that's a good thing. He was a brilliant young man. Could quote Thomas Aquinas, could tell you about all the doctrine of hell, arrogant. And whenever this Samoan priest would come up for whatever reason in conversation, he was very dismissive, very condescending, looking down upon this priest, as if when he was a priest, he's going to be so much better. Again, he didn't go into priesthood. The Samoan priest died a little more than a year ago. I received notification on May 2nd of last year when I was in the chapel at a parish in San Angelo, Texas, doing my holy hour. I just finished up an outdoor adventure, and before I headed home, I went over to the local parish, oddly enough, named St. Joseph. The day that I found out, so yeah, that was May 1st, not May 2nd. May 2nd. It was the morning after I found out that my former parish had burned down. And oddly enough, I was there praying in that church named St. Joseph. Beautiful, beautiful little church in San Angelo, in the little chapel there that looks like it doubles as a cry room on Sunday. And I received notification from this priest's brother, who is also a priest in Samoa, from Facebook. And he said, "Father, I just want you to know that my brother died today." And I said, "Look, I'm in the chapel doing a holy hour. I'm going to offer it up for him." And I said, what did he die of? And we knew he was sick for a long time. He said it was kidney failure. This priest had been to Fiji. He'd come here to the United States. They seemed to, at the seminary, assign him with some very difficult seminarians. One of the seminarians they assigned him to, and I think this is the reason why he went back to Samoa and didn't come back to the seminary, was a very difficult young man who, even though he had a French last name and he was from California, he thought he was Irish. And so he went to Ireland on a summer break and came back with speaking an Irish brogue and changed his last name to O'Sullivan until the seminary said, no, your last name is French and you're going to go by your last name. This seminarian endured in the seminary until he got to third year, and then they kicked him out. And somehow he finished his college years for his diocese outside in a university, and then was picked up by a seminary, I believe in Texas, and then went on to priesthood, and didn't last very long in priesthood, and ran off with probably the first girl that ever had a crush on him. And now he's a Episcopalian priest. I think he's working in Nebraska or somewhere. And when this Samoan priest died, I remember what he posted on Facebook, and it's like, I think Father would wring your neck if he knew what you wrote about him. Nonetheless, Father passed away, a simple man, a humble man. And the seminarian that I spoke of earlier, the one who was very arrogant, who made it all the way to third theology, he is currently, the last time I checked, which was not long ago, living a very immoral life in the Northwest. And I pray that someday his own weaknesses will put him in touch with Jesus Christ and make him teachable. Friends, let us be humble. Let us be receptive. Let us be teachable before the Lord.